Host of celebrity guests. Joining me for all the fun and games is wet frontman. Well, I think I put an extra wet in then. wet, slightly damp frontman. And singing sensation, Marti Pellow. Also, to a leading West End man who's starred in everything from Chicago and Chess to Blood Brothers and Evita. But all you 80s and 90s music fans out there will also recognise him as the frontman of multi-platinum selling band Wet, Wet, Wet. Please welcome Marti Pellow. Marti, it was a huge band, huge successes, hit after hit after hit. Is it still a thrill when hits are used for, you know, these sort of wonderful rom-coms and stuff like that? And
well, you know, that song was such a massive song for me in my career, you know, that it really was a blessing for us at the time, you know. It took us all around the world. God. And, you know, still to this day, you know, I was just recently out on a tour with Wet, 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 and every time we play that song, the hands go up and the people rejoice. Yeah. And I think for us, there's been enough time from it. In 1994, when it was at #1 for a couple of years, and it certainly felt like that, it was like eating chocolate every day. Oh. For us, it really was. And now that there's enough time went by that we can reflect on it and look at the song and appreciate it for the wonderful pop song it was that Reg Presley penned.
It's so nice when that happens because a lot of big stars get fed up of doing the songs that made them big, and I always feel in a way they kind of shortchange the fans.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm lucky enough to have in our back catalogue songs like Goodnight Girl and Angel Eyes and Love Is All Around, which are songs that people are very familiar with, Wet, 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 and that's just great classic pop music. You know, it's good pop music, and you know, it isn't rocket science what we do, but we love doing it. And
an enormous resurgence when Love Is All Around went on Love Actually, presumably with Bill Nye doing his.
Well, this is it. You know, I mean, and a great interpretation it was of it too. You know, I would have loved to have Gregor Fisher's part in that. So to be the
that would have been a good thing, that, wouldn't it? You should have had that.
Yeah, it was. He's such a big, you know. I'm such a big fan of Richard Curtis's work, and I know that he like me, we're big Troggs fans. Yeah. And that song, I think he should put in all his movies in various guises.
Yeah, exactly right too. But you have made the transition, or maybe it isn't a transition, it's still singing, playing Che Guevara now in a tour of Evita, a stonking musical.
Oh, it's a fantastic musical, and I've worked with Tim Rice before in Chess with the ABBA Boys, and when the chance came up for me to be involved in Evita, I really jumped at that because it's such a wonderful score. I was speaking to him and I was saying, you know, what were you eating and drinking when you wrote that for such a song, a young age? The melodies and the lyrics were phenomenal, phenomenal.
Wasn't he writing Jesus Christ? Was he 19 when he did the lyrics?
It was something ridiculous like that. Yeah. I mean, my joined-up writing was just coming together as I entered into my early 20s, and he was coming out with that. Those lyrics and Andrew's melodies were just—it's a phenomenal piece.
Do you keep up with Tim? Do you still see Tim? Right?
Yeah. Well, recently I was we were in Truro with the show, and he came in and in between he was just getting ready for From Here to Eternity, and he popped by to see the show, and I think that he could see our interpretation of it again, and he fell in love with it again because it's really is a wonderful piece.
I guess in a way for him, rather like you going away from the Wet, Wet, Wet songs and coming back to them and reappreciating them, if you like. Yeah. It must be the same for Tim and Andrew Lloyd Webber when their musicals revive.
Absolutely, and that's what it has longevity as songwriters. That's something that we hope we will have. And with like Evita, you have songs like Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
Well, a bit of Madonna singing. I mean, did you see the movie with Madonna?
Yeah, I did see it, and with Antonio Banderas. Another, you know, just a wonderful piece. Again, and the interpretation was good.
Yeah. They're so strong. Every time you get one or two songs, don't you, that somehow you never tire of hearing them. They still make you moist-eyed, and that's certainly one of them. It's such a
I think
thing.
it's like it crossed into... I mean, I first became aware of them through David Essex, you know, when he sang "O What a Circus," so it crossed into the pop world. So I was hearing them on Top of the Pops and "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina," and so Another Suitcase in Another Hall. These songs have to be embraced. They're wonderful, wonderful writing.
You mentioned ABBA. We've got Mamma Mia on in the West End. We had Spice Girls, the musical, not quite the success. Would you ever see Wet, Wet, Wet translating to a West End musical?
You know, I think when you have a back catalogue of songs like Wet, 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 which we were lucky enough to have so many top 10 records, it'd be a nice idea, but the story's got to work rather than just putting our back catalogue into something and welding it together with some loose writing, because I respect my back catalogue more than that. And so if it was a good book and it was a good story, yeah, it's another way of airing your songs.
You'd be there. You'd be the man to do it.
Well, I don't know about that.
You know, the walk-on part.
Oh, the
Gregor
part,
Fisher role, you know, in the back. But you're right. You need the good story. I mean, that is the thing. That's what they did with Mamma Mia. That surprised people, really, because they thought they were going to go and see the story of ABBA, and it wasn't that at all.
Pierce Bronson singing in the movie. Come on. God bless him.
Well, the singing, that's loosely.
Well, I thought he'd done a good job. I thought, I'll say that. Yes, he's 007.
So, Alistair, any thoughts of being in a musical yourself? You do a musical because you're Pygmalioning. Would you do My Fair Lady?
I'd love to do My Fair Lady. I've done musicals in the past, you know, Cabaret and Little Shop of Horrors, and yeah, Pygmalion's fantastic. But it is one of the few plays, I think, which was, dare I say it, battered by the musical. And My Fair Lady is something I'd love to do in the future. Yeah, I'd love to. But I'll probably be fighting Marty for the part.
Come on, why are you? Oh, it'd be a great part.
But you see, you'd get the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
Right, I didn't know you... That was a great French accent.
You can go to catch Marty Touche in the UK tour of Evita at the Sands Theatre in Carlisle. My thanks to Marti Pellow. Don't go anywhere. After the break, impressionist Alistair McGowan on his latest theatre role, just been talking about a bit. Stephen Gates shows us his explosive rockets. It's not a euphemism. Plus, do blondes really have more fun? That's today's Ding Dong. That's coming next.